Hey guys, IcyCat here. This time we're taking an in-depth look at Phantom Sight's newest defender, Warden. With his focus on counterplay, we'll go over all the details of his special abilities, strengths, and weaknesses, as well as his loadout and tips and tricks on how to get the most out of this new operator. Warden is a defender with the US Secret Service. He's a slow and heavy 1-speed but 3 armor operator. His loadout is a choice between the M590A1 pump-action shotgun or the MPX submachine gun. The shotgun is slow to cycle between shots for fast follow-up, with a damage of 48 and 7 shell capacity, but will allow you to make use of environmental damage if you prefer. The MPX will probably be the more versatile choice, but it has a somewhat low 26 damage, using a 30-round magazine and an 830 rate of fire. Sidearms are a choice between the P10C pistol with 40 damage and a 15-round capacity, or the SMG-12 at a lower 28 damage and a good-sized 32-round magazine with a blistering automatic rate of fire coming in at 1270. Now that fast bullet hose is going to come at the sacrifice of some accuracy though, as it tends to jump around a fair bit, so if you're going to open it up for long bursts, keep it at a closer range for better results. Secondary gadgets is where things get a little interesting. At the launch of the season, he has a temporary loadout due to the glitching exploit from deployable shields. He's supposed to have a deployable shield and barbed wire, but until the exploit is definitively patched, he will be launching with impact grenades instead of the shield. This is supposed to change back to the shield at some point over the course of this season, so depending on when you're watching this video, he may have impacts or he may have a deployable shield as a choice in addition to the barbed wire. One of the first things you'll probably notice is this slow and heavy operator also comes with a kind of unique running animation. For the first few seconds, you'll probably think it's cool, but pretty quickly you'll then probably find it obnoxious before finally getting more or less used to it and dealing with it. A unique animation is cool, but it does have a very real loss of visibility on that right edge of the screen, which could be a problem when you die to something you would have otherwise seen if the gun weren't raised up like that. Now let's talk about his gadget, the Glance Smart Glasses. They give him resistance to or immunity from flash-based devices and also allow him to see through smoke if he doesn't move around too much. These work on a recharge timer. The good news is that he can use them an unlimited amount of times over the course of a round. The bad news is it's a bit slow to refill, and you can't reactivate it again until the recharge cycle is back to 100%, which can leave you at an awkward position if you do get flash and have some of the recharge restored, but had just turned it off or something. The glasses work as either a preventative or a recovery from flash-based gadgets. If you turn it on in advance, you get the immunity from them as long as the charge lasts. Alternatively, you can activate it once you've already been flashed, and your sight will recover nearly instantly. As you can see, it works against normal flashbangs, of course, but also acts as a direct counter to an operator like Ying. Her Candela devices, which are essentially cluster flashbangs, are treated the exact same way. Maybe the greatest asset is that it also turns him into something of an anti-blitz operator. While it doesn't get rid of that pesky shield, it does at least prevent blitz from blinding him. Just like the flashbangs, this works as either a preventative measure or a recovery effect. Now, this does not work as any kind of resistance to stun-based devices like Ella's mines or Zophia's stun launcher. There is a bright flash that occurs with these, but that's not negated. These stuns are concussion-based, not flash-based, so there's no protection from these kinds of gadgets. Now on to the next way his glasses work. He can see right through smoke with these. And it does have a limitation though. You have to be standing nearly still, but even walking a couple of steps forward will cause the smoke to fade to obscurement again until he stops moving. Now it is possible to take very, and I mean very, small incremental movements without really losing the visibility, but you have to go so slow that there's not much advantage to doing so. If you need to reposition for some reason, it's almost better to just get it over with quickly and allow the effect to resettle again once you do. This does allow him to be a somewhat direct counter to a Glaz smoke push, especially now that Glaz has to stand still to be able to see through the smoke, but it's important to know that while both of these operators will be able to see each other through the smoke, Glaz will still always maintain the advantage in the stare down with his magnified optics, yellow highlight on the visible target, and much higher damage. So while you can counter the Russian sniper in this kind of a situation, just remember you will almost always be at a disadvantage while doing so. Now it's not just regular smoke grenades he can see through. This also works against Capito's smoke bolts, which produce an identical area of effect smoke cloud. Interestingly, you also get a somewhat effective combo when paired with Smoke's toxic gas grenades. While not quite as thick as an attacker smoke grenade for concealment, they're still usually pretty hard to see through, but Warden's glasses allow him to cut right through the yellow fog when his ability is active. One thing to be careful of is that because there's some areas where the opacity of the clouds is thinner, and the gas grenades are usually not quite as heavy as smoke grenades for density in the first place, it can sometimes happen that from the other side you can somewhat easily see Warden's active glasses turn on. In most cases, this isn't a factor, but if for some reason someone has a less dense section of the smoke to see through, they may be able to see you more easily than if you had your glasses turned off, but only if it's lined up just right through that thinner cloud, which for an attacker is inconsistent to count on at best. Okay, so we talked about some operators he's effective against, and one he combos with, but who's good to use against Warden? Well, first up is Thatcher. His EMP grenades will completely disable the glasses and prevent them from turning on at all until the effect wears off. During an attacker push, that's long enough that it will feel like forever, especially if flashbangs come pouring in. Likewise, if the device is already in use, it will shut them down immediately. Now, you might assume Twitch would have a similar effect if she manages to hit Warden with some of her tasers, as that's the case with many other ops that wear devices that have a vulnerability to EMPs. But in this case, she doesn't have any effect on Warden whatsoever. Another possible counter to Warden's ability is IQ, but it comes with a whole lot of conditions. She can only detect Warden if it's turned on. It only highlights the gadget itself, and it's tiny. The part that highlights is actually not the glasses as you might expect, but rather the wristwatch he uses to turn the glasses on. That's done so you don't get automatic headshots on him if you fire at the gadget through a soft surface. And yes, you can totally use it to kill him that way, especially if he's kind of holding still for a smoke grenade push or something. Just remember, you can only spot him this way if the device is actively operating. Warden has been accused of being an underwhelming and situational operator, but it really depends on your perspective. You can and will go through entire rounds without ever needing to use his ability once. Then again, it could totally save your neck from a charging blitz or an aggressive flash or smoke push. At higher levels of play, he's going to see more utility, as the use of heavy smoke grenades and flashbangs is a little bit more common of a tactic. He's also going to be more useful on bomb as opposed to secure area or hostage, because tossing in smoke right before you plant is one of the more common tactics. But it's also not bad to have an ability that's situational, because in those situations, he's really useful. His slow 1 speed does make him a bit underwhelming for roaming, but fits more of an anchor role that makes sense as the objective areas are where you'll see the most deployment of flashes and smoke anyway. Many argue that his recycled weapons loadout isn't the best, as most of his choices are average. There's definitely some truth there, and it might have been nice to see Warden get at least an ACOG on the MPX since he's that slow 1 speed, even if you leave it off for Valkyrie's MPX for balancing reasons. So is Warden a game changer? Well, he can be in the right situation, but unless Blitz gives you nightmares or you're always finding yourself smoked out during bomb plants, he's probably not a must pick if you still have other operators to unlock. Does that make him bad? No. Underwhelming? Maybe a bit, but that determination is up to you and how you use him. That finishes up the operator profile for Warden. We'll be taking an in-depth look at Operation Phantom Sight's newest attacker, Nuck, in the next video. There's definitely a little more nuance to her gadget and how it interacts with everything than Warden's, so be sure to check it out. Now, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to be sure you're up to date on all the latest news and information for Rainbow Six Siege. Be sure to click that notification icon so you're alerted as soon as new content drops. You can also follow me at IcyCat25 on either Facebook or Twitter. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.